Hello, friends. This is Jim here with Science Talk, and want to discuss with you something you probably have already seen in the news, but the significance cannot be passed by. Put it that way. Sudden collapse of Antarctic ice shelf could be sign of things to come. The unexpected collapse sends a massive slab of ice into the ocean. What are they talking about? Okay, I'm going to switch over to here. Hey, this is Sentinel 1A image taken on the 17th of March of 2022, and it's showing some locations in East Antarctica, for example, Shackleton Ice Shelf, Cape Elliott, and these areas that you see outlined in yellow have basically splintered off. So the satellite 1A image shows a C-38 iceberg on March 17th. The iceberg broke off from the Conger ice shelf. Right? C-38. This is the area that broke off. Here's another section, C-37. This is the area right here. This one. This is the slab. And as you can see, it's pretty close to the Southern Ocean. So this piece of ice, about the size of New York City, and just broke off, splashed right into the ocean. Now, though scientists say they do not expect significant impact as a result of this event, melting ice in this historically stable region may be a foreboding sign of things to come. Well, you got a piece of ice that, let's see, where did I see the dimensions of? It was something like 14.8 kilometers by 5.4 kilometers, something like that. I have to. I'm looking for the dimensions. Here, 14.8 by 5.6 kilometers was the size of this thing. Now that's just the area. We don't. What's the thickness? How many meters tall was that? That will melt, and that will add to sea level rise. Even if it's a fraction of a millimeter, it will add to sea level rise. So you really cannot dismiss that. So thanks to satellite photos, they showed the sudden disappearance of the Conger ice shelf on East Antarctica occurring between 14th of March and 16th of March. The Glenser Conger ice shelf presumably been there for thousands of years, and it's not going to be there again. And that's a statement from University of Minnesota glaciologist Peter Neff. Now, the shelf has been slowly shrinking since the 1970s, but recently accelerated melting was the precursor that led to this sudden and unexpected collapse. Now, Antarctica is important to understand the geology of Antarctica. It's divided to east and west, with the transantarctic mountain range separating the two parts. West Antarctica, the ice is more unstable than in the east, so melting ice, collapsing ice shelves are often observed. Places like Thwaites, right, Pine Island, those locations. East Antarctica is one of the coldest, driest locations on the planet, and because of how cold and dry it is, ice shelf collapse are extremely rare. This collapse of the Conger ice shelf is the first major ice shelf collapse in East Antarctica during human history. This ice shelf collapse occurred during a stretch of unseasonably high temperatures in the region. Concordia Station, an Antarctic research facility located on the eastern side of the continent, reported temperatures of 10.8 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 11.8 degrees Celsius on March 18th. the warmest temperature ever recorded in March at the station. That temperature was more than 40 degrees C, 72 F, warmer than seasonal averages. Think about that. You know, it was 40 degrees C warmer than seasonal averages. Well, why were these warm temperatures seen? Due to an atmospheric river, which is basically, a literally it's a band of warm atmospheric air that contains a lot of moist air. So you have this warm, moist air, this band of it. It got trapped over this region. The heat got trapped, and that led to the drastically increased temperature, and it even resulted in some precipitation as rain. Now, I've discussed with you some of the situations with Greenland, what happens when it rains there, and what the rain is doing to the Greenland ice. Well, now we're starting to see rain in a part of Antarctica that is very dry. We can only imagine what that will do. Much of that heat from the atmospheric river was most likely absorbed by water underneath the Conger ice shelf, and that's a statement by NASA planetary scientist Catherine Colello Walker. She goes on to speculate that the heat carried by this atmospheric river could have also contributed to the collapse of that ice. Though the major collapse occurred on March 15th, the Ides, it was just the second of three calving events in the region this month, according to Helen Amanda Fricker, who is a professor of glaciology at Scripps Institution of Oceanography out in California. Fricker said that ice shelf calving events, which are so named because they give birth to icebergs, are part of the natural life cycle of an ice shelf. Because of the coinciding unseasonable heat, scientists need to explore the possibility of a climate change connection. It's true. One event does not make a trend, right? You're saying a single data point is not a trend. Two, still not. When we start getting three or four, then and if they kind of coincide nicely with a regression model, linear or otherwise, then you have a trend. According to the U.S. National Ice Center, the NIC, the calving events, which began on the 7th of March, have created several icebergs. One is dubbed C37, measures 8 nautical miles long, 3 nautical miles wide. Okay, that's C37. That's this thing here. So obviously C38, here it is, 16 nautical miles by 10 nautical miles. Now, a nautical mile is approximately 1.85 kilometers. So you can, so you can do the mathematics. So this would be like, say, 18.5 kilometers in width, and then, about 30 kilometers in length this way. That is a sizable chunk. This is another sizable chunk. And again, I don't know the thickness, whether it's 100 or 200 meters tall or 50 meters tall, but still, when you calculate the total volume, that will melt as the currents carried into warmer waters, and that will contribute to sea level rise, however small that may be. So scientists do warn that this could be the beginning of a troubling trend. Ice shelves act as a buffer to protect Antarctic glaciers from melting as they insulate those glaciers from the warm seawater. If the glaciers in East Antarctica melt, they could be a major driver of sea level rise in the coming decades. Now, I have done videos before where yes, and this appeared in Live Science, but I've done videos before where I explain some of the mechanism that you have the warming air from above, but you also have the warming oceans from below. So you get melting from above, melting from below, and any ice that's past the grounding line is in danger of it just basically snapping off. And then you have this big chunk that lets loose, and goes on. Now, there's another thing at work here. So you have these glaciers. If they snap off past the grounding line, then the glaciers behind that will accelerate their movement to the sea. Also, Antarctica does have sea ice that forms around it, and the sea ice further helps hold back the glacial land ice. Sea ice is melting. Now, this allows even more accessibility of the warm water to reach the underside of the glaciers. You have the sea ice there, yeah, the warm water could reach there, but it's going to be cooled down a little bit before it gets to the glacial ice. With the removal of the sea ice, that means the water is warmer. So now we even have this warmer water accelerating the melting from below the ice, further accelerating or at least increasing the probability of the ice snapping off at the grounding line location. So sea ice and the ice that extends past the grounding line, basically cantilevered out over the ocean, that helps hold back the land ice that's actually on land. You remove one or both of those ice formations, and that will accelerate how fast then those glaciers can slide on down into the ocean, continue to snap off, and then get introduced eventually into warmer ocean currents where they melt. So this is a troubling trend that we've been following. I mean, I've done reports on Thwaites Glacier, Pine Island, the Brunt Ice Shelf. I've done reports on those. You can check out those videos that I've done. This is troubling. What's going to happen to the ice in this location? Well, we have to monitor it. Can't say for sure now, but it does need to be monitored. So, more troubling news on how drastically the planet is changing due to human activity. And one final thought. I did the recent two-part video series on the interactions among tipping elements. And the overall finding was research done by the PIK group out of Potsdam, Germany. The overall finding was that a warming of 1.3 C is enough to throw the climate into chaos. IPCC says we're at 1.2. That's bollocks, because they keep changing the goalposts. If you go to the 1750 baseline, as it should be, the warming that has occurred is minimally 1.6, 1.65. Some researchers state at least 2 already. Be that as it may, 1.6 is greater than 1.3. And if you look around the planet with the crazy events going on, precipitation bombs, heat bombs, Boulder, Colorado just had another fire. Right? And you got the ongoing drought in the Southwest, worse than 1,200 years. You've got fires. You've got massive precipitations, crazy heat waves. Both poles, the Arctic and the Antarctic, are seeing these massive heat blasts. Right? And then the jet stream is going all crazy all over the place. It's going wildly meridionally, so that you bring warm air, cold air, like within days. I mean, it's just, everything is going nuts. We are seeing climate chaos, which is supporting the work that the PIK group out of Potsdam, Germany, reported on. Check out the two-part video series. Check out my other videos I've done in the past on Antarctica. And this is just another troubling trend, another troubling indicator of what we're doing to the planet and what's coming down the pipe. So, this is another case of stay tuned. There you have it. Thank you for your time. Hello, folks. This is Jim here with Science Talk, asking you to please subscribe to my channel and to inform others of my channel and of the work that I do. Please share to social media platforms that you use. Also, as a reminder, don't forget to click the bell so that you know when I load up more videos. Finally, I ask that you support the work that I do by becoming a patron at patreon.com. Details in the description box below. Thank you for your support.